come to sound with our mouths. We sing a word we think we know. Mother, father, skin and flowers. And we move just like the birds, flying amidst the other birds. And we move just like the fish, swimming away from the larger. And I know I'm projecting a lot that I'm lacking, but oh, you look like a morning star here to see who we are here. And I know you're projecting a lot they are lacking, but oh, you look like a morning star here to see who we are here. The good in the west, see how you clap those hands. The good in the south, see how you use your mouth. The good in the east, on elbows and knees. To the honey dipper, to the silent shifter. Oh, don't you know you wanna just see that moon rise in the river, just like you had wanted it to. The temperature drops, the hot top it cool. The radio calling to you. Right out loud, she said it. Right out loud, they meant it. Sing that song like I know you can. Work your jaw like a blind man. Call that call like you're on the land. Throw up your hands, make demands. The good noise, see how you clap those hands. The good in the south, see how you use your mouth. The good in the east, on elbows and knees. To the honey dipper, to the silent shifter. The good in the north, move your hair back and forth. The good in the east, don't know the wild wood feet. The good in the south, make your makers proud. The good in the west, the good in the dress. Oh, you do. Oh, you do. I feel like a morning star. I feel like a morning star. I feel like a morning star. This is fun. I like it. I had it all planned that before you met me. Was gonna leave early, so swiftly. Maybe in a fire crash or a ravine, people would weep at tragic so early. I was gonna die young. Now I had to wait for you, honey. Now I had to wait for you, now I had to wait for you, honey. I was a firecracker, baby, with something to prove. Now I gotta contend with the living blues. Could have missed it, I never knew. Chain reaction. and refused. I was gonna die young. Now I gotta wait for you, hon. Now I gotta wait for you, now I gotta wait for you, hon. Desperate. Thank you. Here's a song about being young and gay. She's only frequency, the cardiac flying over me. Oh, now hear that sound rushing through the fields and flowers. Her voice coming through my dial. She's the one, I swear to God, a frequency. She's got a frequency, the morning all over me. Bicycle they fur, but climb the oak tree in my backyard, and I can hear for a while. Hear her voice bends as she smiles. Oh, now hear that sound rushing through the fields and flowers. Her voice coming through my dial. She's the one, I swear to God, a frequency. She's got a frequency in the morning all over me. Yes. But away this all I got. Will I ever get to touch? Just wait till 65 and bleed in my new love. Oh, now hear that sound rushing through the fields and flowers. Her Thank you. How's everybody's day? Are you drinking water? Are you taking care of your neighbor? That's usually what I say when we're playing outside at night. We've only got a couple more for you. And I wrote this song as an instructional song to myself. Kind of a magical spell to figure out how to not numb out, how to feel things, how to feel the tough emotions, and how to be able to take action around them. It's for you. It's for us.
Shaking at the numb. Let me feel something. Shaking at the numb. Shaking at the numb. Give me hot water, give me freezing day, give me gas and a reason to kill. Shaking at the numb, shaking at the numb. A kid, you see, only pay attention to you and me. Forget about the breaking disease. Shaking up and up. Let me feel something. Shaking up and up. Shaking up and up. Shaking up and up. Let me feel something. Shaking up and down, shaking up and down. Shake, 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 shake. Forget about the wind, forget about the heat. Shaking for the sea, shaking for your mother, your father's disease, shaking for the making, shaking for babies, shaking for the shaking, shaking set you free, shaking, 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 set you free, shaking, shaking, shaking. Shaking out the numb. Let me feel something. Shaking out the numb. Shaking out the numb. Shaking out the numb. Let me feel something. Shaking out the numb. Shaking out the numb.
Surprising like you're so cute, so quick. Singing, I got the moves of a TV queen, folk girl hero in a magazine. Picking the truth in a new pop song. Don't you wanna sing along? Slave to the radio, slave to the radio, slave to the radio. 3.3, oh, slave to the radio, slave to the radio, slave to the radio. 3.3, oh. Get your say to the radio, say to the radio, say to the radio. 3.3, oh, say to the radio, say to the radio, say to the radio. 3.3, oh, say to the radio. Way to the day, so get you lost. Select the radio. 3.3, oh, select the radio, select the radio.
Y'all, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. We're absolutely thrilled to be here with Senator Sanders. I want to specifically thank him for everything he's done to stop sending arms to Israel and to finally bring an end to the genocide in Gaza. I want to specifically thank him for that. I also want to thank, I know a ton of you here have done so much work with Helene relief, and like that just means the absolute world to us. I so much appreciate our community organizers, everyone at Potter Emma, everyone at Pansy Collective, everyone at Roar, everyone at Beloved. This is just, I'm so thrilled to be a part of the North Carolina community with you all. So thank you. This is our last one.
Make it easy, make it plain, make it simple, make it rain. Lift me up and out again, like you did back when I was 10. World is smaller, playing with that, play it again. Play it easy. Play it plain, play it simple, out in the rain, out in the heat, out in the snow. To all the men at the rodeo, they all know it from long ago. Hear it echo, see it flow. Now you know, now you know. Know it easy, know it plain, know it simple. It's loving a thing, and in the darkness you hear it rain. And when it freezes, it thaws again, just like a record spinning round. Oh, can you hear it? That loving sound, it's playing now, 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 It's playing now. 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 Make it easy. Make it quick. Make it simple. Make it rain. Lift me up. Out again. Like you did, babe. When I was 10. World was small. But you never did. Play it again.
Thank you so much.
discursos sin colores, no ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo, al son de un solo coro, marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que va a estar de robo, tu estado de control, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro, no, la hora sonó, no permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, la hora sonó, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó del shock, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó del shock, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó. Mi país es solo corporaciones, ¿quién tiene más acciones? Todos sus grupos poderosos, decisiones, pero muy pocos. Institución, pinochetista, derecho plus de élite fascista, golpista disfrazada de un indulto elitista. Trae la gota, trae la brisa, la trama se toma la máquina, rota la calle, no calle, la calle se raya, la calle no calle, deja que te estalle, todo lo quitan, todo lo venden, todo se lucra, la vida de la muerte, Dios negocio, botón de semilla, más cual mejor seguro. Tus monólogos, tus discursos sin colores, no ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo, al son de un solo coro, marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que basta de robo, tu estado de control, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro, no, la hora sonó, no permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó del shock, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó del shock, ya hora sonó, la hora sonó. Las ganas y el aliento con cenizas, con el fuego del presente, con recuerdo, con certeza, con desgarro, con el objetivo claro, con memoria, con la historia, el futuro es ahora. Todo es sabio, todo es de laboratorio que a diario, todo es de fallo, todo es de cómico, modelo ordenado de dinosaurio, todo se criminaliza, todo se justifica en la noticia, todo se quita, todo se pisa, todo se ficha y clasifica. Política y tu práctica, tu típica risa y ética, tu comunicado manipulado, ¿cuántos fueron los callados? Buenavos y idiomas, para buenavos y turnos, buenavos nos llaman, ¿cuántos fueron los que se robaron las mujeres? Tus monólogos, tus discursos sin colores, no ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo, al son de un solo coro, marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que basta de robo, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro, no, la hora sonó, no permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, 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 la hora sonó.
Please welcome Dr. Patrick Barrett, public health researcher and organizer working on rural health in Western North Carolina.
Thank you so much. I've worked in public health in Western North Carolina for the last 6 years, focusing on food insecurity and the health issues that it impacts, in particular for rural communities. I know where the blind spots are, where the gaps in the system are. When Helene hit, those gaps were filled with floodwater. Like many, I stayed grounded in that crisis by responding to it. And I found purpose in a changed world by being part of the process of rebuilding. Many of the agencies and the programs that were tasked with protecting health and safety in this region were not prepared for disaster when it came. An inadequate response in the crisis and in the recovery led to worse outcomes at massive expense. But we also quickly saw those gaps filled by community members, nonprofits, mutual aid groups, religious congregations, and volunteers who acted together to take the reins of recovery. People like my friend Dan, who helps run the WNC Repair Cafe, whose members mobilized across the whole region to fix broken chainsaws Yeah. And who gave a lot of people who they organized in every area a new way to belong to the recovery effort by invoking a long-standing Appalachian tradition of small engine repair done in driveways and parking lots. People like my friend Nicole, who manages Smoky Mountain Harvest Hub with Haywood Christian Ministry. Her team began a program within days of the storm to buy food from farmers who were unable to sell or store their products, who were wiped out, and redistribute it for free to community members who were living off of canned goods for weeks and months. And months later, they're the newest, largest food hub in the state. They've scaled up to distribute tons, literal tons of fresh local food to residents in need, while also providing local farmers with a new market and essential revenues. Prior to the hurricane, a record number of residents in this area were food insecure and were using pantries to deal with essential hunger needs. A year later, those numbers are even higher. Who are those people? They're older adults on fixed incomes, working families with children, people who can't afford to live here anymore, people who lost everything. In some areas, it's as many as 1 in 3 residents. And the safety net programs that provide food and other essential services are doing more than ever to meet those needs. And they face drastic cuts to Feeding America, to SNAP, to Medicaid, to more. And the cost of living continues to rise. This is a perilous moment for this region. If a large number of nonprofit providers close their door as Medicaid, SNAP, and other federal programs are defunded, then that unmet demand for services falls on what remains. And what remains will buckle under that strain. That collapse leads to fallout. Hundreds of thousands lose access to federal programs just as the nonprofit network that they rely on also disappears. Health spirals, and the cracks in the system widen into an abyss, and 1 in 4 residents of this region falls into that void. And that changes the status quo for everyone. When things fell apart a year ago, we saw what made a difference, who led the way. I'm not talking about FEMA, I'm not talking about Raleigh, I'm talking about this place. Us, everyone who worked to make us whole. When the system fails, we took it upon ourselves to become the system we needed. The leadership to rebuild and to endure as a region is coming from within. The work that began in crisis response continues as we now endure another systems failure. But this time we're a lot more prepared because we've been doing this for months together. Stepping into new roles, scaling up capacity, organizing to take care of our own. Just as the people of these mountains have done for many generations. That's what we invest in to secure our future. That's how we create a model for others to follow. We are Western North Carolina. We are Appalachia. We take care of our own. Thank you. Up next, please welcome Hannah Drummond. She's a registered nurse at Mission Hospital here in Asheville. She's a member of National Nurses United. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Drummond, and I'm a cath lab recovery nurse at Mission Hospital in Asheville and a proud member of National Nurses Organizing Committee, an affiliate of National Nurses United. As a union nurse, this giant crowd fills my heart with hope. No matter how much wealth is hoarded by a handful of billionaires, there will always be more of us than there are of them. I want all of you to carry hope forward. So let me remind you what our solidarity can accomplish. In 2019, my facility was bought by HCA, the largest, wealthiest hospital corporation in the world. HCA's co-founder, Thomas Frist, is one of the world's 100 richest men. and CEO Sam Hazen has a net worth of $413 million. With pockets that deep, our community hospital could have been upgraded, but staffing and equipment were gutted and patient care conditions got worse. It is exactly what is happening in our country right now. Billionaires are enriching themselves by cutting corners on working people. Nurses weren't going to just let HCA maximize profits at our patients' expense. So in 2020, at the height of COVID, despite massive union busting in a state where this was supposed to be impossible, we had a union election and we won. Using our collective power to hold billionaires accountable remains critical in our community, where patients are still suffering long-term impacts from Hurricane Helene. HCA went all out with PR trumpeting how their hurricane infrastructure helped. But nurses know who really came to the rescue. When power, water, and cell service were out for days, when food ran out, when we were caring for patients who had lost everything, the mutual aid between nurses, hospital staff, and our community became our foundation. A colleague of mine found an open grocery store, brought a grill, and cooked for us. My comrades bunked 20 to a hospital room, working up to 7 days in a row. Then just a few days after the storm, my union colleagues and I flew to Florida when our own lives were still upended to protect our patients by settling a strong union contract. Our union deployed volunteer nurses to Asheville to provide free community care. One of our union presidents came here and worked 18 night shifts in a row. You know what HCA did in the aftermath of Helene? Fought us about whether nurses deserved disaster pay. We need elected officials to take strong climate action now, while also ensuring people everywhere are as healthy as possible, so when extreme weather strikes, because Helene showed us that nowhere is safe. But that's not what's happening. The Trump administration is slashing FEMA, rolling back climate protections, and gutting Medicaid, so that many rural North Carolina hospitals face closure, and more than 600,000 patients face healthcare loss. Nurses and our allies have been fighting back. We went so hard on Republican Senator Tom Tillis that he voted no on that big, bad billionaire bill, and he's not seeking re-election. And we'll continue fighting federal cuts while also fighting our bosses who are cutting protections at work. I'm not going to sugarcoat what we're up against on the job or in society. But in North Carolina, we know when things are stripped away, we must rebuild. And what I want you all to take away from this rally is a deep knowing that when we rebuild, our grassroots movement will transform society. We will win Medicare for all. And we're going to do it by being there for each other. They fear our solidarity. Let them be afraid. If you refuse to be divided, make some noise. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Bishop William Barber.
It's good to be in the mountains where the last thing you want to do is poke the bear. It was Mountain Morrow Monday in 2014 that was the only area in the country when people united and sent an incumbent Tea Party elected congressperson home. If you did it then, we can do it again. It's Sunday afternoon. In the Bible, there's a verse that says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and power. And it also is a word in there in Ephesians that says we must speak the truth in love. It was written by a preacher who was in jail for nonviolent action and civil disobedience against a greedy and mean authoritarian regime of his day. That regime insisted that everyone say Caesar is Lord. He had gold blonde hair and loved to put his name on buildings. But Paul would not bow. There were Christians refused to bow. They went to jail. They were thrown to the lions for their resistance. But they still insisted that the way to fight back was to speak the truth in love. I've come here today to declare this same message in this moment. We must be a love army to fight the hate that has been unleashed by Trump's regime. We must be a truth army to challenge the lies. And we must be a nonviolent army of we the people who refuse to bow down or back away from challenging the greedy rich, the greedy politicians, the greedy mega Republicans who are hell-bent on ruining this democracy. And I come here today to speak not on behalf of any organization, but as a person, a human being. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And we must be clear, this that we are seeing is about greed. It is about greed and the shifting demographics of this country when by 2030, 35, no particular race will have a majority, and they are scared that black folk and white folk and Latino folk and Asian folk will get together with native folk, and we ought to make sure that their fear is realized. MAGA's Mike Johnson just got every House Republican from North Carolina to slash your health care, to cut the 300 and some odd thousand North Carolinians from health care, to cut nutrition assistance for hungry children, and risk closing hospitals in our communities, knowing that 51,000 people will die every year from that big, ugly, deadly, destructive bill. They know that. They know that rural hospitals were closed, and they did it so that the rich people in this country could get a tax break while Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk picked your pocket. MAGA is trying to blame hard-working immigrants for your pain. They are hell-bent on doing anything they can do to steal. All they can steal and lie, all they can for the love of money and unchecked power. And we must love God enough, love ourselves enough, love humanity enough, love the poor enough, love low-wage communities enough, and even love Trump and every politician intoxicated with and thrilled by the dreams of neo-fascism, white religious nationalism, and authoritarianism. We must love them enough to say no to their craziness. We must love them enough to say no. We love the truth enough to tell you, hell no. This will not go down in America without a moral fight. I'm a preacher, so I have to curse the things that are evil. And I know enough history to tell you that if we let people with power lie and pit us against one another while they take all they can, there will be hell to pay for all of us. You know, for years, those of you that know me, I've been nonpartisan, but in seasons of great pain and death visited upon the poor and low-wage communities by a partisan and oligarch-funded authoritarianism, a love for people and a love for truth compels me in this moment to point out with clarity the politicians determined to destroy our best hope. It's time to call names. It's not enough It's not enough to just say we stand against hate when a propaganda machine is using my faith to call good evil and evil good. No. If religious nationalists are going to quote scripture to recruit ICE agents for a new Gestapo to terrorize our community and haul neighbors off to concentration camps, then I love this country enough to call names. I'm here to say no to Sister Virginia Fox, who ushered the big, deadly, destructive bill through the House Budget Committee. I'm here to say no to Addison McDowell and David Ruscha and Richard Hudson and Pat Harrington and Chuck Edwards and Greg Murphy and Brad Knott and Tim Moore, who repeated the lies and repeated the names and repeated the distortion. I'm here to say no to my fellow preacher, Mark Harris, who has given up the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ and picked up Christian nationalism, which is nothing but heresy by another name. They are voting their values, but they are being deceived to support everything that God hates. Their actions are direct contradiction to what God's word says about nations will be judged by how we treat the least of these. Their actions are a direct contradiction to what you're supposed to do with power in America. Our Constitution says power in America is supposed to be used to establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, ensure domestic tranquility, and equal protection under the law. Anything less than that is constitutionally inconsistent, morally indefensible, and economically insane. It's time to call names, baby. I love these brothers and sisters enough to call their names to say, if they won't stop, then we need to love them enough to strip them of their power, send them home so they can think about what they're doing and stop messing with the rest of us. We must love America and love North Carolina and love the South enough to tell the truth. We in this moment must be the love, justice, truth, nonviolent army that confronts the wrong and exposes its violence for everyone to see it. This isn't the first time we faced authoritarianism regime in the South. We lived through a century of Jim Crow. We have the example of Miles Horton and Howard Thurman and Ann Braden and Septima Clark and Clarence Jordan and Martin Luther King and Ella Baker and Lillian Smith, white and black Southerners who stood together in the great tradition of nonviolent love. And it is time for us to do it again. And there is a love army waiting to be organized. Trump won by 183,000 votes in North Carolina, but 2 million poor and low-wage voters did not vote because nobody called their name and talked about low wages and the poor and low-wage people. If we call the names of the poor, they will organize and come out and vote, and if they do, we will turn this nation and the South around. When politicians wake up and all they can think to do is hurt people, we must love them enough to say no. When they vote to take 15 million people's health care and condemn thousands to death, we must love them enough to vote them out of office and send them home so they can't hurt anybody else. When Trump and his MAGA minions act like they don't believe in establishing justice, they don't believe in promoting the general welfare, but instead they believe in injustice and the welfare of a few, we must love them enough to stand in their way, put our bodies on the line, and say no, not now, not ever. Love is not passive. Love must say no. No to greed controlling, no to lies, no to voter suppression, no to stealing House seats in the next year's midterm so you can hold on to power when people are against you. No to scapegoating immigrants and snatching them off the street. No to concentration camps here on our own soil. No to contracts with autocrats who are willing to do Trump's dirty work on their soil. No to cuts that are hurting U.S. farmers while they starve people in other countries. No to genocide in Sudan and Yemen and Gaza and anywhere else that authoritarians feel empowered. No to plans to disappear unhoused people from our streets rather than invest in affordable housing so people have somewhere to live. And to every politician running in 2026, now is the time to be clear. We must say no, but it's not enough to just say no to Trump and MAGA. You must say yes and be clear. Yes to lifting the poor. Yes to paying a minimum living wage. Yes to health care for all. Yes to saving the climate. Yes to fully funded diverse public education. Yes to a reconstruction of America that lifts from the bottom so everybody can rise. And if we can love this nation enough to raise up some politicians who will lead us with this yes of love, then I believe the millions, 30 million of them, of infrequent poor and low-wage people that MAGA has hurt, we can organize that pain at the voting booth like never before. It's time for the Love Army and the Truth Army and the Justice Army and the Nonviolent Army to rise, and I'm signing folk up today. We have the power. We have the power for poor and low-wage people to be the revival and the cornerstone of a new movement in America. It's time to speak the truth in love. It's time, if you love the promises of liberty and justice for all, if you love the vision of a nation of people for the people and by the people, if you love the best of what we've been when we've come together and pushed toward a more perfect union, if you love your neighbor and even your enemies enough to believe that a better future is possible, then it's time to stand together, because love is not passive. It's time to say no, hell no to the madness, and yes to a new reality. It's time to rise up as an army of justice, of love. In the church where I was raised, we used to sing a song that says, I'm on the battlefield for my Lord, and I promised him that I would serve him till I die. I'm on the battlefield for my Lord. Can I go to church for just a second? Are you on the battlefield for love? Are you on the battlefield for justice? Are you on the battlefield for truth? Then say, yes, I'm signed up. I'm ready to fight. And I'm not giving up on this democracy. Not now, not ever. We've bled too much blood. We've shed too many tears. Too many people fought too hard. They signed up then. It's time for us to sign up and stand up right now. Right now. Right now. Let the Love Army rise. Let the Truth Army rise. Let the Justice Army rise. Let the Nonviolent Army rise. And rising with us is a warrior, Bernie Sanders, who fights every day of his life. Let's welcome him to the podium, because it's time to rise. To rise. To rise.
Thank you, Asheville. Now, how in God's name am I supposed to follow that? Reverend Barber, thank you so much. Not only for being here this evening, but for fighting for years and bringing our people together in the struggle for economic, racial, and environmental justice. Thank you so much. Let me thank the Sylvan Esso band. Let me thank Patrick Barron. Let me thank Hannah Drummond. All right, let me cut to the chase. As the Reverend just told you, we got a few problems in this country. But as he also told you, if we stand together and do not allow Trump and his minions to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or our sexual orientation or our religion, if we stand together, we can defeat oligarchy, we can defeat authoritarianism, and we can create a nation and a government that works for all. And we've got a lot of work to do, because today in America we are living in a nation in which, in many respects, we have become an oligarchic society where our country is being run by a handful of multi-billionaires. And these people are very religious, but they're not quite the same religion as Reverend Barber. They worship wealth, and they worship power, and they could care less about how they get what they want. They are prepared to step on anybody and everybody who gets in their way. And our job is to tell these oligarchs, enough is enough. This country belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. Today in America, we got more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had. If you can believe it, you got one guy, Mr. Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Can you believe it? I mean, it's really hard to imagine that we have evolved into the kind of society one man owns more wealth than the bottom half of America. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. You got the CEOs of large corporations making 350 times what their workers make. And it's not just income and wealth inequality that we have today in terms of oligarchy. You got more concentration of ownership in sector after sector. You got a handful of large corporations determining what is being produced, what you pay, how they treat their workers. You have, in addition to that, you have more concentration of ownership in media. Why do you think the American people don't discuss the important issues facing the working class of this country? It has everything to do with the fact that you have 6 major media conglomerates that own and control what 90% of the American people see, hear, and read. And these guys are smart. What they want to do is to make sure that you do not discuss the important issues facing America. You got Elon Musk owning Twitter. You have Larry Ellison, the second wealthiest guy in this country. He just purchased Paramount, which owns CBS. You got Jeff Bezos, the 4th wealthiest guy, owning the Washington Post and Twitch. You got Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. You got Rupert Murdoch. You all know who Rupert Murdoch is? He's a right-wing billionaire. He owns Fox, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, HarperCollins, and right-wing media throughout the world. Billionaires own and control virtually every major newspaper and radio network in the country. That is the country that we are living in, and that is the country that we are going to change. Now, the oligarchs, they're not just content with owning America. They also want to destroy our democracy and move us toward an authoritarian form of society. Now, democracy is not a complicated process. What it means is one person, one vote. But ever since the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, we have seen billionaires pour hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into both political parties. Now, if some of you want to become the most important person in government, I'll tell you right away how you can do it. All you have to do is spend $270 million, like Mr. Musk, to get your candidate elected president. And then the next day, no problem, you become the most important person in government. You could use your right-wing ideology to lay off tens of thousands of federal workers. And it's not just the Republicans, it is the Democratic Party as well. So at the top of our list, if we're going to retain and expand democracy in America, we got to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision and move to public funding of elections. If you want to run for office, or if you want to run for office, or if you want to run for us, I want you to be able to do so. But you should not have to beg billionaires for campaign contributions and be beholden to them. So you're living in a country where the people on top have never had it so good. But what else is going on in America? Well, we got two worlds. One, billionaires doing great. The other one, middle class, working class, low income people. So good. Today, in the richest country, again, this is almost unimaginable, in the richest country in the history of the world, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. Anybody here living paycheck to paycheck? Yeah. I grew up in a family living paycheck to paycheck. Anybody here dealing with stress every day, trying to feed your families, pay your medical bills, pay for your housing? Well, tens of millions of people are in exactly that same position. Today in America, again, the richest country in the history of the world, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Millions of Americans can't find affordable housing. Our educational system, from child care to college, is much too expensive and much too inadequate. Our health care system is completely broken. We got 85 million Americans who are uninsured or underinsured. In America today, half of older workers, people who have worked their whole lives, have nothing in the bank as they face retirement. 22% of seniors are somehow, I don't know how, trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less. We have, again, as the richest nation on earth, the lowest life expectancy of any major country on earth. You all know that? We live on average about 4 years shorter lives than people in other wealthy countries. But here is what you don't know, and that is that if you are working class in America, you're going to live 7 years shorter life than wealthy people. Why is that? Why? Stress. Stress. Now, stress is the word. I held a hearing a couple of years ago, and we talked about poverty as a death sentence. You all know what I'm talking about? What it means is if you are working class in America today, and you wake up in the morning and you say, how am I going to feed my kids? Is the landlord going to raise the rent? And if he does, how am I going to pay it? Where am I going to go? Because there's no affordable housing in the community. What happens if my mom gets sick and needs prescription drugs that she can't afford? Or my kid gets sick? What happens if my car breaks down and I can't afford the $1,000 bill the mechanic tells me it's going to cost? And if I can't get my car fixed, I can't get to work. And if I can't get to work, I'm going to lose my job. And if I'm going to lose my job, what happens to my family? There are millions of Americans who are living that nightmare right now. And in the richest country on earth, that is totally wrong and unnecessary. But it's not only what's going on now. When you see people in America angry and disgruntled, there is a reason why. And one of the reasons is that over the last 50 years, as you all know, there has been an explosion in technology, right? Every worker in America is far more productive, producing a lot more than that worker did 50 years ago. Now, one might think that with all of that increase in worker productivity, workers would be making more money, right? Wrong. Because over the last 50 years, real inflation accounted weekly wages for the American worker have gone down. There was a study that the Rand Corporation did, and it said that during that same period of time, there was a $75 trillion redistribution of wealth going from the bottom 90%, you all, to the top 1%. So here we are right now. In terms of basic necessities of life, the housing system, broken. Educational system, in terms of child care, in terms of kids being able to afford to go to college, in terms of the pressure on public schools all over America, in deep trouble. Wages in deep trouble. Workers are going nowhere in a hurry. Housing, a disaster. People spending half of their incomes on housing, 20 million households, 800,000 people in America who are homeless in the richest country on earth. And Donald Trump comes into office and I am the champion of the working class. I just love workers. Well, this guy is not only a pathological liar, he is a fraud of the worst kind. When Trump campaigned for president, I don't recall him telling his supporters that he was going to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. $900 billion in tax breaks to large corporations. I don't recall Trump telling his supporters that he was going to throw 15 million people, including many hundreds of thousands here in North Carolina, off of the health care that they have. And let us be clear, and this is not just me talking, there have been studies about this. When you throw 15 million low-income and working-class people off of the health care they have, when you cut back on the Affordable Care Act and force premiums to go up all over this country, do you know what happens? People die. That is the simple truth. And there have been studies out there, and I feel uncomfortable telling you this because it's so horrible, but it's true. There have been studies out there, Yale, the University of Pennsylvania, suggesting that when 15 million people lose their health insurance, when costs go up, 50,000 Americans a year will die unnecessarily. Thank you, Donald Trump. Trump did not campaign on taking free school meals for up to 16 million kids away from them. He did not campaign on doubling or tripling monthly student loan payments for millions of Americans who are already drowning in debt. But it's not just his big, beautiful bill. Trump did not tell his supporters that he was going to shut down Social Security field offices all over America, making it harder for the elderly and the disabled to get the benefits that they have paid for. He did not tell the veterans of this country who put their lives on the line to defend us that he was going to throw 83,000 employees in the VA out of their jobs, which means worse health care for our veterans. He didn't tell the American people that he was going to impose a $50 billion a year voucher program on America, which will go a long way to destroy public education in America. He didn't tell the American people that they were going to have to pay substantially higher prices because of his absurd tariff policies. In other words, what Trump has done is made a very bad situation worse. And I want to say, though, it's not just domestic policy that we have got to be concerned about. I am proud to tell you that I have led the effort in the United States Senate to end the funding of the Netanyahu war machine in Gaza. It is not acceptable to me or the overwhelming majority of Americans, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, that in Gaza right now, 60,000 people have been killed, mostly women, children, and the elderly. 140,000 have been wounded, mostly women, children, and the elderly. Entire infrastructure, schools, healthcare systems, wastewater plants, water plants have been destroyed. And now, with U.S. taxpayer money, children are being starved to death. Not acceptable. We've got to change that. But our job right now is to fight Trump every day of the week, as Reverend Barber pointed out. But we have got to do more than that. And we have got to understand that the Democratic Party, in many, many respects, has turned its back on the working class of this country. And if Democrats want to win elections, they're going to have to stop taking money from billionaires and start responding to the needs of working people. So let me give you a rough idea of some, underline some, of what we have got to do as Americans and what the Democratic Party has got to stand for. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. The function of a rational health care system in a democratic society is not to make hundreds of billions in profits for the drug companies or the insurance companies. It is to provide quality care as a right to every man, woman, and child. In America today, we do not need to continue paying, by far, ain't even close, the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We can lower the cost of prescription drugs across the board by 50% by doing nothing more than demanding the drug companies charge us the same prices here as they do abroad. Let me tell you something else that we've got to do. I hear politicians talking about how much they love America. If you love America, you love the future of America, and that is our children. You don't have in America the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. You don't have a child care system which is broken, wildly expensive, and pays its workers inadequate wages. You don't have a public school system where teachers are often making starvation wages, taking money out of their own pockets to help their kids. You don't have a higher education system where kids are leaving college $50,000, $100,000 in debt. You don't have a system where at a time when we desperately need doctors and nurses, you want to go to medical school, you're from a working class home, you know what you're going to leave school deep in debt with? $500,000. How do you attract doctors under that scenario? It is not a radical idea to say that in a competitive global economy, higher education should be free for all. A long time ago, working class people fought to create public education in America. They said, you know, we don't want our kids just working in factories and the fields and in farms. They need an education. And they fought and they got public education free from first grade to 12th grade. You know what? The world has changed a little bit in the last 150 years. There is absolutely no reason why our public colleges and universities should not be tuition free. Does anybody here think that that's a radical idea? There are countries around the world who already are doing that and have done it for years. They understand that if they want a strong economy, they want a strong democracy, they got to have the best educational system for their kids. They can do it. We can do it. I am tired and you are tired, whether it is Burlington, Vermont, or Asheville, or any place else, seeing people sleeping out on the street. Instead of raising the military budget, and by the way, the Pentagon has not undergone a successful independent audit for years. Massive waste and fraud in the Pentagon. Instead of giving them this year another $150 billion in increase, we're spending $1 trillion on the Pentagon right now, more than the next 10 nations combined. Maybe instead of putting more money into the Defense Department, how about building 5 million units of low-income and affordable housing? What's the minimum wage now in North Carolina? How much? You know, it really would be funny if it weren't so pathetic. all over this country. And, you know, I go all over this country and I talk to people. I was talking to people yesterday in West Virginia. Well, and I talk to people, remember, a woman in Iowa comes to mind. She's raising kids, making $11 an hour. How do you raise a family on $11 an hour? You don't, right? So the rich getting richer, millions of people working for starvation wages, for the middle class wages are stagnant. It is time to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, at least $17 an hour. We are, as I recall, one of 2 nations in the entire industrialized world that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave. So what happens today? Kid gets sick. Mom has to make the choice, do I stay home with my child and not go to work and maybe get fired, or do I go to work and leave my kid who's sick unattended at home? That is not a choice any mom or dad in America should have to make. We should not be the last bloody country on earth to guarantee paid family and medical leave. There are millions of seniors who are struggling today. We don't talk about it very much. We have the highest rate of senior poverty of almost any major country on earth. And just think about it. These are the folks who not only raised us, they not only built our economy, they fought in our wars. They are our heroes and heroines. And if we have any dignity at all, we treat those people with the respect that they deserve so they can live out their retirement years with dignity. That's what a humane society is about. You don't turn your backs on the people who raised us and built this country. Now, there are some Republicans who actually want to cut Social Security. Well, we're not going to let them cut Social Security. We are going to expand Social Security benefits. And it ain't hard to figure out how you do it right now. One person makes $10 million a year, one person makes $176,000. They both pay the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund because there's a cap on taxable income. You lift that cap, you make these guys on top start paying their fair share. We can substantially raise benefits and expand the solvency of Social Security. Now, for the young people here, some of us older people know this, but for the young people here, you may not know that there was once a time, not so many years ago, that if a worker worked for a company for a number of years, he or she had a defined benefit pension plan. You know what that is? That means as part of your work life, when you leave the job and you retire, you know the retirement benefits, the pension that you are going to have. We used to have it. Corporate America, by and large, took that away from most American workers. Think about what it will mean to workers in this country to know that in addition to a strong Social Security system, they have a defined benefit pension plan. Now, a lot of you say, well, these are ideas, they're really nice and they're good, sound pretty good, and how are you going to pay for them? Well, I'll tell you how you're going to pay for them. Gee, you took the words right out of my mouth. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but when Mr. Musk is worth some $400 billion, some of his other friends are worth a few $100 billion, and we've seen an explosion of billionaires, And when in many instances, these billionaires pay an effective tax rate lower than a truck driver or a nurse, you know what? The time is now to say, guess what, oligarchs? You're going to pay your fair share of taxes. Now look, I am not going to kid you. I didn't even get into the whole issue of climate change and artificial intelligence or robotics and all of those things which are and will have a profound impact in America. These are tough times, and I would not be telling you the truth if I didn't tell you that the oligarchs are enormously powerful. They have more wealth, literally, than people can imagine. They have more political power. They own the media. They own the political parties. Taking them on is not easy. But this I also know. Reverend Barber touched on this as well. If you think back on the history of America, our people over the years, over the 100 years, in really difficult times, came together and fought and won. If you think back in the 1770s, think about it. Taking on the British Empire, by far the strongest military power in the world, was an easy task. You'd be wrong. Those guys came together and they did it. They beat the King of England. If you think that ending the abomination of slavery was easy, think about what the abolitionists had to do. Think about the horror of the Civil War, where hundreds of thousands of people died to finally end slavery. Think about the Jim Crow era and the segregation and what Martin Luther King Jr. and the others had to do to take on the racists in the South in order to end that bigotry. All right? Think about the struggle that women had to go through. Women died, went on hunger strikes in order to get the right to vote in the 1920s. Struggled to, and continue to struggle today for the right to control their own bodies. When I was a kid a few years ago, nobody I knew, no fellow student of mine that I can recall, ever acknowledged being gay. They were gay, but no one acknowledged it. But the gay community and their straight allies against really formidable hatred and opposition stood up and said that in America, people, regardless of their sexual orientation, have the right to love whomever they want. So the good news is that throughout our history, in very, very dark and difficult times, the American people came together, led by working class people, came together to take on incredible power and corruption, and they won. They did it then, we can do it now. In the middle of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln went to Gettysburg a few days after that battle where tens of thousands of soldiers died trying to end slavery in America. And he looked out onto the field and he said that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Trump and his friends believe in a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class. And that is not what millions of Americans fought and sometimes died for. So, brothers and sisters, in this difficult moment in American history, in this unprecedented moment, we have got to respond in an unprecedented way. We need you. You can't sit it out. Sorry, I know it's tempting. You can't put your head over your covers over your head. We need you to join us in the struggle. Now, I don't have a PhD in mathematics, but I do know that 99% is a hell of a bigger number than 1%. Brothers and sisters, let's go forward. Let's take on these oligarchs. Let's beat them. Thank you very much.